So coming on to search ranking, this is a big subject, search ranking. SEO is a term that is bandied around a lot, search engine optimization. What I'm going to try and do is give you a bit of an overview of search ranking and show you the sort of the key things to be looking at, rather than tell you every single detail on it, because it would take forever to go through that. So first thing I always think is to know what people search for. So it's all well and good thinking about what you do, what your services are, but what really matters is what people out there are typing into Google or whatever to find you. We're always looking at the top keywords. We have lists of the top 50, 100 or more keywords for different sectors. So for electrical, for fire, for security. So currently for electrical, the top 10 are electrician near me, which gets about 60,000 searches a month, electrician, and then we've got PAT testing, EICR, energy performance certificate, and then lower down, less search things like local electrician, electrical testing, etc. Fire and security at the moment, security cameras, CCTV camera, they're the biggie, 40,000 a month. And then we've got smoke alarm, fire alarm, home security, and so on. There's always a few interesting things. For example, the retail market, burglar alarm is what they search for. In the commercial market, it tends to be intruder alarm. Burglar alarm, 8,100 a month at the moment. Intruder alarm is searched about 2,700 a month. So on the industry side in security, we're thinking intruder alarm. However, a lot more people are searching for burglar alarm than intruder alarm. So when looking at search ranking, it's important to start off by looking at what people are really searching for, rather than what you think they should be searching for. And all this data is available freely from Google. If you search, I think it's on the lines of Google Keyword Planner or something like that. There's a tool they have which will show you how many people are searching each month for different keywords. And we're always looking at it, and we're always updating the data we've got, because it's key to make sure that our customers' websites are being found for the right search terms. So once you know what searches people are looking for and what you want to be ranking for, the next thing is how do you go about achieving that? And I'm going to just take you through some of the basics first of all on ranking well in search engines. First up, you've got to have your name, address, and phone number on all pages. Bit of a typo there. I said of all pages, on all pages, because it's Google call this NAP, name, address, phone number. It's a big factor for them, trying to be sure that a company that they're going to list in their search results is a real company, a proper company, and is offering the services that they say they are. If you look at this from Google's perspective, and I'm talking Google at the moment because they're the biggest by a long shot. 91% of all searches are done on Google. Bing, I think, is about 7%, 6 or 7%. Yahoo is 1%, and there's a couple of others like DuckDuckGo and so on. So let's just focus on Google. Google is the world's biggest advertising company. Their money comes from advertising. So the adverts at the top of a page, if someone clicks on it, then they earn some money. That's their business. To remain the search engine of choice of most people, they need to be sure that when you search for something on their search engine and click on it, you find what you want. If we kept on going to Google and then got rubbish results, we'd stop using Google. We'd change to Bing or whomever else. So by always giving good results, Google ensures that people always use their search engine. And as a result, every so often people click on one of their adverts, and that's how they earn their money. So Google needs to be sure that the results on their search result page give the right information, and therefore are companies that are, that are not dodgy in any way, that are reliable and so on. So the first thing is name, address, and phone number. And what they're looking for is that information on every single page of the website. That will help your search ranking. Second thing is they're looking to be sure that your company is found all over the place. They want to find listings for your business in lots of different places on the internet, because then they know that you're a good company, a reliable company. So directory listings like Yell, LinkedIn, Facebook, the phone books like 192.com, Thomson Local, and so on. They're looking for you in all of those different directories. And by finding your name, address, and phone number in those directories, as well as the website, they're ticking boxes, and they're sort of reassuring themselves that you are the right company to show. On your website, it's very important to have a page for each of your core services. So, for example, if you want to rank for EICR test and you don't have a page on that, it'll be very, very hard because there's just not enough information on your website. You need to have a page on EICR. You need to talk, and I'm thinking now 300-400 words as a minimum about EICR, how you do the test, frequently asked questions about it, those types of things. And that gives Google enough information to know that you are a good company to put in their search results at the top for EICR. You also, these days, need to have a page for each key location. The reason for that is that people tend not to search for a word like, let's say, electrician, because if they search for electrician, all kinds of different things will come up. It could be to do with an electrical product. It could be to do with a job, electrical job, all kinds of different stuff. However, if they search again, they'll often put in the location they're in. So they'll either say electrician near me and rely on Google to just show people in and around their area, companies in and around their area, or they'll say electrician in Leicester, for argument's sake, which will then show them companies in that area. So what you need to do on your website is have a page for all the key locations that you're operating in. So let's stick with electrician in Leicester. Let's imagine you're 40 miles from Leicester, but you do a lot of work there. You have a page called electrician in Leicester, and on there you're talking about the different services you do, and you're talking about doing them in Leicester. Yes, there's duplication because you've got pages for each of your services, but by mentioning Leicester a number of times, Google will see that and know that Leicester is relevant to your company. So I always suggest don't go too far with this. Don't try and have 100 pages for every single sort of micro location, every tiny suburb and so on, but aim for about 10 for your key towns, cities, and nearby. So the areas you really want to be working in. And that can also be counties. So, rather than just Oxford, we've got Oxfordshire. Rather than just listing a list of towns, we can put in 3 or 4 counties that those towns are in. So we're sort of addressing it in a couple of different ways there. The next thing is to have unique content on all pages. One of the things that Google and the other search engines are doing is that they'll look at the content on the website, and they're visiting the website regularly, every day, every few days. They're coming back, having a look at what's on your website. And they want unique content. They don't just want it to be the same on every single page. So let's say we've got the page for each location here. What you can't do, if you want it to work well, is copy that text for Leicester onto the page for Nottingham, for argument's sake, and for all the other pages, and just change Leicester into Nottingham. You've got to have unique content for each page because Google will spot that. And if it's all the same, they'll just discount most of it and just focus on one. So it's worth putting a bit of effort in and just writing the words for each page so it is all a bit different. And the last thing within sort of the basics of search ranking is to keep on adding new content. I mentioned just now, Google is always coming back to a website, always looking again. What they're after is fresh content. They want sites that are regularly updated because then they know that you are active, you're doing stuff on the website. And if you're updating regularly, they're going to rank you a lot higher than someone that launches the website today and then never changes it for the next 5 years. The way you can add new content, the easiest way is through something like a blog. You can change photos regularly. You can have examples of past projects, things like that. Clearly, the core services don't change very much. You can tweak them here and there, and legislation does change from time to time. But things like blogs and news and so on are the easy way of doing it. And within that, the best route is to talk about what you're up to. So talk about new projects. If you've hired someone, talk about that. Just some way of having something new, maybe once a month, going onto the website so Google spots the changes and knows that it is being updated. Now, I'm going to go into a bit more detail. Those are the basics, things that really have to be done to have any hope of ranking the search engine. Now, these things are a bit more detailed, a bit more technical. The first thing is, within the code of every page on a site, there's a thing called a meta title and a meta tag. And they appear in search results, but they also appear at the top of the page in the browser tab. And I'll show you an example in a moment. The title, you've got about 8 or 9 words, and that really is one of the most important parts of the website from the point of view of search ranking. And in those 8 or 9 words, you need to have whatever service is on that page, and maybe the location if you're focusing on a particular location. And if you're trying to get your company ranking higher in Google, so let's say there's 3 companies with the same name as you, and you're appearing third of those 3, you'd put your company name in there as well. But it is only 8 or 9 words, so there's only a small amount of space to to get those keywords in there. So they have to be chosen very, very carefully. Second thing is the URL. So you have your company website, and then there's a / and then electrical or whatever it may be. That URL needs to sort of align with whatever keywords you're going to try and rank for. I'll show you an example of that in a moment, how it should be done. Within the text of a website, you have what are called H1 headings. There's also H2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And they're a title. And you can have ideally one H1 heading on a page. And Google knows that that H1 heading is important because it should be a title for that page. And whatever words are in that H1 heading, Google knows are keywords relevant to your business, and therefore words that you want to rank well in search engines for. Again, I'll show you an example shortly about how that should be done. Obviously, Google and the other search engines can't really understand images. However, you can do a thing called an alt tag, an alternative tag, which is text for the image. So rather than just having an image, you actually have a name for that image as well, which they can read to understand what the image is of. I've put in here that for search ranking, you need to have at least 300 words of text on a page. That is the absolute minimum. I mean, we're looking for 500 words plus, really, because within the text, let's say we're aiming for CCTV. We want to mention CCTV in the title. We want to mention it in the description. We want it in the URL. So it's ABC security / CCTV. In the heading, we're going to have CCTV. So along the lines of CCTV installers in Leicester. The image, we're going to call it, we're going to have CCTV in there. We'll probably have a few words for the name of the image, but we'll have it in there. And then within the text, we can't have CCTV, CCTV, CCTV in a line like that. And people did used to do that. It doesn't work anymore. They literally put lots and lots of repetition of the same keyword just to try and rank well in search engines. And it did work a few years ago. Nowadays, it'll do the opposite. They'll drop you down. They'll penalize you, basically. So you need to mention CCTV multiple times in the text without it being stupid. And by having at least 300 words, then you can do that. By having more words, then you can talk in much more detail about it. And really, the more words you have, the better. Now, we always have to be careful with this because we're talking about things to make the site rank well in search engines, but we've always got to remember people are going to read the text on the pages and then decide whether to contact or not. So when writing text, yes, we're trying to write it to rank well in search engines so you are found when someone's searching for a CCTV installer near me. However, we've always got to remember that the human being is going to read that and then decide whether to contact you or not. So it can't just be gobbledygook. It's got to be well written and make sense and sort of lead to what they should do next, i.e. get in touch with you. Last thing in the sort of the more technical side is to link between pages. So a link on a website page going to another website page is a special type of tag, and Google knows that if there is a link, then it's a more important thing than just regular tags. So if we have a link going to, for example, a fire alarm page, Google will know that there's something more special about fire alarms. That's the sort of thing you do. Let me try and show you that on a. Well, I'm going to use the same slide as before, as an example. So first up, the title tag. if you were to open your own website just in any browser and then hover over this bit at the top here, this would appear, which is the title tag for that page. The words here are in the code of the website page, but by hovering you can actually see them. So this particular one, intruder alarms, burglar alarms, Herts, Essex, Cambridge. Second thing is, so this is an intruder alarm page aimed sort of at the commercial side of things. Second thing is the URL. So we're aiming for intruder alarms, but that's the very first thing we have in the title tag. The URL here is intruder alarms. If this page was aimed at a particular location, then we'd have maybe Leicester intruder alarms, something like that. We'd actually get the location's name in first, because always the very first word is the most important in Google's eyes. Then we've got the H1 heading I mentioned, which is intruder alarms. And then in the actual text itself, we have H2 headings, which are the level down from H1. So we can use the H1 tag once to highlight the most important thing, and we can use H2 multiple times. So we're going to use it typically 6, 7, 8 times on a website page, and we're going to try and get other sort of words that matter. So we've got the word installation, survey, design, things like that in our other headings. Again, we've got to always be thinking about people. So it's got to be written for people, but at the same time, we're trying to get those words in for search ranking. A bit lower down this page, so this site, I think it's about 700 words in there. So we can mention alarms a number of times, intruder alarms a number of times. And here is where I was saying links to other pages. So on this site, these are our links to the other pages. So these will, by virtue of the type of thing they are, that, being a link, they're sort of flagged up with Google as being something important. So they know that fire alarms is relevant to this company, electrical access control are all relevant to this company. It's a big, complicated area, search ranking and SEO and so on. So I've tried to show the basics here without getting bogged down in all the detail. But I think the key takeaway is, let's say you're using someone to do your SEO at the moment, it's well worth checking, have they done the title tag correctly? There was a company, about last month, I think it was, we were looking at this, that's been paying an awful lot of money for SEO for quite some time. And they've assumed that someone's doing something for them, but have no real way of checking up on it. And as soon as we have a quick look at their site, it's obvious that they're not really doing what they should be doing. They're taking the money every month and then not doing the job. So it is always worth checking. If you are having someone do it for you, make sure that they've done a good title tag. Make sure the URL is right. Make sure this is an H1 heading and these are H2 headings, and that you've got enough text on the page. You've got some links to other pages. All basics that you can look at fairly quickly and easily.